What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesFromRetail. This story is called Broken Lock Nightmare. Hey everyone, this story is about the most unfortunate of nights working retail that I have ever had. To start off my story, I need to give a bit of background info. For about 2 years, from the ages of 15 to 17, I worked at a local grocery store at the checkout line. I really hated the job, but I needed the money so I pushed through it. Although I rarely remembered anyone I served during my time there. There were a few notable customers that everyone that worked in the store was aware of. They all did one thing in common. They'd come into the store 5 to 10 minutes before closing and take their time shopping for groceries, forcing you to work past closing to wait for them. Here's a few characters that'll be relevant to the story. Names have been changed. Annoying customer 1. More of an inconvenience than anything. She was annoying but not rude. She'd come before closing and always refused to cart, opting into carrying everything instead and complaining about the wait. Annoying customer 2. Very rude customer. She'd always come in right before closing, as well as have a bunch of coupons to sort out. She'd always hold back the line and cause a fuss. Karen, the worst of the worst. She was the customer most notorious of making you stay late, chewing you out, and dumping buckets of coupons onto the register upon checkout. Manager. One of my favorite managers was on that night. She was very polite and wasn't afraid to stick up for employees. Other characters I met during this particular night. Annoying man, annoying woman. In short, this particular night had a series of miserable events, all happening within a span of 10 minutes. The store I worked at closed at 10 o'clock. I was the closer that night. It was just me and the manager there, and as 9:30 rolled up, I was anxious to get out of there and go home. Everything was going completely fine until I saw the familiar face of annoying customer 1 walk in the door. I rolled my eyes to myself as I imagined having to stay a few minutes late to deal with her. However, my night was far from done. On cue, annoying customer 2 walked in from the other side of the store. At this point, I knew I was in for a miserable night, especially when she yelled, "I'm here!" from across the store. Just when I thought the night couldn't get any worse, in walks Karen. At this point, I thought I was going insane. The 3 most horrible customers all walked in within 1 minute of each other, and I knew I wouldn't be done in the 30 minutes until closing. 10 o'clock rolls around, and as I suspected, Karen, annoying customer 1, and annoying customer 2 had yet to show up in line. At about 10:10, my manager made an announcement that everyone needed to bring their items to the register as we were officially closed. Finally, annoying customer 1 walked in line at about 10:15. She complained about her bag being too heavy and used all her coupons, but I took care of her relatively easily. I wait another 5 minutes, and in walks Karen, annoying customer 2, and 2 other customers into the line, annoying man and annoying woman. I take care of Karen first, who pulls out her usual bag of plastic bags full of coupons, spare change, and rubber bands. She gives me about 10 coupons to ring up. I check her out, and she doesn't have quite enough money on her. She then goes register to register, grabbing the chain from the take-a-penny cup on each register. She finally gets within $1 when I tell her that she's fine. She then stands and watches me bag her groceries, yelling at me to triple bag everything. She only had a few items, and it somehow nearly took her an hour to pick out all of them. Next up was annoying customer 2. She also pulled out her coupons, then gave me a hard time for having such a long line and being understaffed. At this point, manager was working with me and we were bagging the groceries together. We checked annoying customer out, then we're left with annoying man and annoying woman. Annoying man went first, and I checked him out rather incident-free. He comes back later in the story. At this time, I hear a banging on the window and a woman, presumably a friend of annoying woman, is pounding on the window, seeming to be yelling, "What the hell is taking so long?" My manager and I both ignored her and started taking care of annoying woman. All she was buying was a gift card, and no matter what I did, it would not scan. After trying everything possible, my manager said she'd take care of it at the service desk and told me to go home. All this time, annoying woman was yelling at me about how late it was, and how bad our service is for the gift card not working. Finally, I'm able to check out at around 10:40. I walk over to the door, and Annoying Man is still standing by it. Apparently, because it was so late, the doors had auto-locked and Annoying Man couldn't get the door open. This is usually an easy fix, and the door unlocks easily, but Annoying Man had screwed around with the door and now I couldn't get it open either. After trying to get the door open for about 5 minutes, I go and get my manager, who's still taking on Annoying Woman. My manager comes over and she can't get the door open either. Apparently, Annoying Man had broken the lock by trying to force it open so hard. Now, it's me, my manager, and Annoying Man and Woman all locked at the door. Both customers are yelling at us about our poor customer service and how dangerous it is for the door to lock. After another 5 to 10 minutes of messing around with the lock, me and manager are finally able to get the door open despite the broken lock. I left the store that night at about 10:55. That is possibly the most annoying thing about having a job that relies on customers. Actually, now that I think about it, that's never really been a problem for me. The problem for me was people relieving me on time. Because at the hotel, you can't just leave the desk unabandoned. You know, if it's your time to get off, you gotta wait until someone relieves you. And I have been relieved an hour later more times than I have been relieved on time. Because my dad was the one who usually relieved me. So he didn't like to wake up on time. So he's like, you know, it's my son, so I can exploit him for free labor because I don't get paid for that extra hour. I've had the most crappy coworkers. I'm so glad I'm out of it now. But yeah, this is definitely quite equivalent to that. So annoying. This story's called That Time a Man Loaded Up 2 60-gallon garbage bags with $25,000 worth of electronics. First, some context. I work in an outdoor lifestyle store. Most of our stuff is expensive, and at the store level, we have no authority to stop shoplifters, and corporate stays mostly silent on the subject as well. The policies have never changed. We have tons of little pieces that are worth a lot of money, and people mainly prey on those. This was our first encounter at our store of someone trying to run a scheme of this size. This took place on an evening, not too long before close on a Sunday. Sunday shifts are notoriously slow, and therefore we had a skeleton crew and were all preoccupied with closing duties and customers. I was up front on the floor with coworker 2 in clothing, while manager was in back preparing to close drawers and coworker 1 was beginning trash. At the time, I was helping a lady who was an interesting character try on all these different outfits. She wanted my opinion on every single one, which I usually enjoy helping with, but I had a list of things I needed to do to get the store ready to close. Looking back, it was almost like she was keeping my attention for a reason. After a while, I managed to break away and head to the back to have a snack. That's when I enter the office and see coworker 1 talking to manager, and both of them are staring at the cameras. I'm like, hey, what's up? And coworker 1 starts telling me how he was trying to do bathroom trash, but there was this giant man who was acting weird in the men's room. He kept coming in and out of the bathroom, and when he saw coworker 1, he was like, hey, I have hemorrhoids, can you go get me some paper towels? And obviously this was an extremely weird request, like he just wanted to send coworker 1 away to buy a little more time. Coworker 1 brings him paper towels anyways, and the man keeps doing the same thing, walking back and forth between the bathroom and the first aisle. Coworker 1 looks around the corner to the first aisle, and behold, there are 2 giant black trash bags filled with the most expensive electronics we have. He quickly comes back to the office and tells me and manager, and we are all shocked. These electronics are kept in a cage around the corner from the office, and when we look at the lock, we see it is completely missing. Giant Man was wearing huge baggy sweatpants, so he could have easily had bolt cutters down them. Side note, we neither sell or have store-use bolt cutters or giant black trash bags, so Giant Man came in here on a mission. Now, I'm starting to freak out because I can remember a while back when we were sent an email with someone who looked like Giant Man's mugshot, saying how he went into another store, broke locks off, and ran out with the merchandise. He also told one of the employees there that he was strapped, so I was like, oh boy, so glad this is happening right now. Since I was up front helping the lady in clothing, I had no idea how long this had been going on for, and so manager decided it was time to step in. In the eyes of corporate, I don't even know if it was allowed for him to say anything, honestly, but thank God he did. Giant Man is standing in the aisle when manager walks up, looks in the bag and says, so, what are we doing with these? Giant Man is sputtering and he says, I'm gonna return them. Manager was like, okay then, you have a receipt? Let's bring them up front. That was when Giant Man knew it was time to go, and he was just just standing there, sweating. Another side note, I am pretty positive that this was the same man we were sent in the email, and in that case, he would have just gotten released from prison after a few years in, which would explain why he's sweating so bad, thinking his plan is foiled and the cops are probably on their way, if not already here. Our fearless leader, manager, then said, "You have two options. You can either leave right now, or I'm going to call the cops." Giant Man breaks character and he's like, "Okay, thank you, all while still sweating profusely. He quickly makes his way to the front of the store and leaves, going down the back alley to where his getaway car was most definitely waiting for him to bolt out the fire exit with the bags. We are all standing there in shock, and so we called the store manager and told him what happened, all while dragging these giant bags to the back office. Giant Man was so huge though that there was no doubt in my mind he could have just picked them up and just bolted with them. We later find out that Giant Man also cut the lock off the back loading door, so maybe he was just going to hide the bags and then come back at night, which isn't really a better idea than just making a bolt for it out the doors. Either way, the cops weren't called till the next day, and we got an email from our district manager thanking us for being observant and stopping him, even though I wonder how many policies we broke by even talking to him and asking him to leave. We may have even broken a policy by not immediately calling the police. Who knows? Because these important things are never clarified. In hindsight, I wish I would have asked coworker 2 if the lady I had spent so much time helping in clothing had actually bought anything, cause then I feel like I would have known if she was in on it by keeping me distracted. I hope I explained this all well enough. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for reading! Okay, wow, our justice system is so bad at rehabilitating. That guy just got out of prison and he's already trying to steal stuff. Goodness gracious. This story is called "Guy Comes Into Store Complaining of a Heart Attack, Then Leaves in His Car." So I work at a convenience store gas station. The backstory here. This guy comes into the store asking us to call 911, hour before my shift was about to end, and my shift manager is standing next to me at the time this happened when he came in along with one other customer in the store. I called 911. So while I am on the phone with 911, he begins to put his hand in his shirt, both top and bottom, but he was also shaking at the time. At this point, we get a chair for him to sit down on. Just to get him calmed down, I'm explaining to the 911 person on the phone, here's what transpired. Here's the cast that I'm not gonna do the voices for, holy crap. I need an ambulance to blank street. Okay, how old is this guy? At this point, I ask him for his age, name, and all that. Fast forward to 2 minutes later, I am still on the phone and the fire whistle goes off. We are maybe about a quarter mile from the fire station. He then proceeds to stand up and is just going up and down in his seat. At this point, he stands up and goes to our bathroom. I was just kinda confused at this point, wondering why he was going to the bathroom. Shift manager asks, "Where'd he go?" Me and customers say, "He just went into the bathroom." At this point, we are walking toward the bathroom thinking he was trying to do something to our bathroom or even trying to flush something he shouldn't have. He then proceeds out the bathroom and sits on the chair. At this point, heart attack guy is just continuously going up and down in the chair. The 911 operator then asked me if he had been at another gas station down the road, 10 minutes down, and I asked him if he had been there and said yes, but did nothing for me. So now me and shift manager are confused on why he didn't stay there. At this point, I get off the phone with the 911 operator. He asks me if they are coming. Me, shift manager, and customer are assuring him they are coming as fast as they can. He then asked me to call the 911 operator back and tell him he was getting worse, but to me, he wasn't in my opinion. About 2 minutes later, the ambulance, I passed their barracks on my way down to where I work, finally show up. And about 30 seconds later, the fire engine, mostly a pickup truck, shows up. I then have the EMTs take over from there. Here is the conversation I overheard. Some of it may not be correct. EMT 1 says, "Hey, heart attack guy." EMT 2 says, "We know who you are. We aren't gonna keep running around. You were at this place earlier, now you're here. You're going to the hospital." "But I need to go to..." Redacted. "Well, that's not an option, bud. You're going to the other hospital, way on the other side of where he wanted to go." Spoiler alert, he actually went to this hospital 3 times before the same day and checked himself out. No, I'm not going to that hospital." He then gets up and walks out the door. "Hey man, you're not gonna do this again. We told you this before, you're not going to the other hospital. Heart attack guy gets into what appeared to be a black car and proceeded to street, nearly hitting me and the sidewalk and other customers near the pumps. He drives onto the street, nearly hitting another car, running over the curb and having some trouble driving. We can't stop anybody from leaving, and then drives off into the wind. After about 2 minutes, one of our police officers show up. It's property police. They are allowed to pull over people on the road, but they don't like to do that. And in the midst of all this, comes over and asks if I called 911. I told him yes, then EMT 1 and EMT 2 proceeded to tell us he isn't who he is and gave us a non-real name and not correct age. At this point, I am flabbergasted on all the trouble this has gone through. I tell you, some people just don't learn. Indeed, I agree with that last statement, because why do so many people need to put so many freaking acronyms in their story? It's so hard to keep track of, man. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.